guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Valentine Lister and this is my weekly tarot and astrology forecast for Sunday, October 24th through Saturday, October 30th. So in this forecast, I'm going to go through all of the important transits for this week, as well as pull some cards to get some clarity to help you get through it, to help you not feel like you're going insane. But before I get into it, just wanted to make a quick announcement about a discount that I'm offering on readings with me. Right now, you can get $20 off your very first reading by going to my website, valentinelister.com, booking a reading, and you'll get $20 off with the code 20 bucks, and that offer lasts until December 31st, 2021. Now, what do I offer? I offer a birth chart reading, I offer a tarot card reading, and a combination of both live on Zoom. So it's a live Zoom session, one-on-one with us. Now, tarot card readings are better for if you have like a very specific question and you want like an answer, more like advice on what to do, versus a birth chart reading is really great because it can give you answers like, what am I doing in the world? Why are things going the way they're going? Why do I find myself like in certain patterns? Because it gives a bigger picture and pattern of your life. And with traditional Hellenistic astrology that I practice, it goes into your destiny, your fate, your fortune, what the stars, what the gods and goddesses of the stars said about your life, what their testimony was, so to speak, about your life. So again, I have that info for the discount and how to book a reading in the description box below. So let's get into this week's forecast. All right, so the first transit that we have for this week is on Tuesday, October 26th. We have Venus square Neptune, and that's happening around 8:51 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So what is that all about? So a square is a conflict. So in astrology, we say that a square is of the nature of Mars, the fighter, okay? And he was the malefic of the sect. So there's a good chance that this could be a pretty uncomfortable transit, one that brings tension or fighting or like unpleasant emotions subjectively in that way. But the other aspect of Mars that is a little more positive is that Mars sometimes can be a very like productive energy. So sometimes a square can actually like make something happen. But so the not great thing about this is that Neptune is really, it's not the greatest, it's not the clearest influence, but of course it has some benefits as well. So let's break this down, okay? So Venus is squaring Neptune. So basically it's like Venus picking a fight or having a fight or waging war against Neptune. And Venus is in the superior position. So when Venus is in the, whatever planet is like to the right, we have like an angle with the square. Whatever planet is most to the right of the planet is what is called in the superior position. And so in ancient astrology, that meant that bam, that planet has the upper hand and is going to win. So there was like a scoring technique in the chart. So looking at this, how would Venus wage war on another planet? Well, Venus was not just this like superficial like goddess of love and beauty. Actually, maybe she was superficial. She does have superficiality, or some people say that about her, like surface level beauty. And you know what? She did have kind of a mean girl attitude. Venus was not like the nicest goddess of all of the goddesses. She is a benefic. So in astrology, like her influence is usually like subjectively pretty pleasant, pretty good. It's like the day you get to be like the beautiful belle of the ball if you're having a Venus influence. But when Venus was not nice, she was super jealous. She was super vindictive. And the way that she waged war was to make people fall in love with each other and do it in like an embarrassing way. Like she put magic, but you could kind of think of this as like, you know, I don't know, like someone, it's like, I'm thinking of high school because I'm thinking of Mean Girls, someone giving like a note to someone and being like, so-and-so loves you. And then that person comes and then you fall in love with them. And then you realize like that person was never in love with you, which is kind of related to this like Venus square Neptune planet. So Venus liked to, yeah, make people fall in love with each other and then laugh at them after and make fun of them. Neptune had a really obsessive quality. He was kind of like a god. He was god of the sea, kind of like Jupiter, and very angry. He was a god of earthquakes. He carried a trident. And with love, like when it came to love, he was really obsessive. So his wife, so this is like Poseidon and Amphitrite, and so Poseidon and Neptune are kind of like the same, they kind of get merged as the same god. He pursued Amphitrite like so much, and she was like, no, I don't want to be with you, like leave me alone. And he like pursued her so much that she was like finally like, okay, I'm gonna marry you. So he was very obsessive. And he would like disguise himself as well. So like one example is like when he pursued like Demeter. And the thing about with Demeter is that she was grieving her daughter Persephone, who Hades had just stolen, and Neptune took this as a time to just like pursue Demeter, turn himself into a horse. She turned herself into a horse, and he pursued her and overtook her, and took advantage of her. So Neptune, not the nicest guy. And even when love was requited, so I think it was like a sea nymph he fell in love with named Scylla. And so she fell in love with him. They had an affair, and then Amphitrite, his wife, found out, and she was so mad that she poisoned Scylla and she died. So even with Neptune, like there's this aspect of, even if we're pulled into the illusion and it's like this beautiful illusion, there's this aspect of like poison behind it, like it's like something dark behind it, like it's not really like what it's meant to be. And it's also something where like in the case of Demeter with a horse represents freedom. So being pulled into something thinking we're gonna like find freedom in it, and that's not really true. It's something that's really oppressing us and deceiving us in some way. So that's a very Neptune thing. So we have Venus, and so she represents pleasure, beauty, making things look nice, judges, money, nice things like decoration, and she ruled marriage. And then we have Neptune, and he was more he was god of the sea. So a fertility god, but he also represented like disguises, obsession, danger in nature, like poison, anger, earthquakes. So the danger here, like breaking this down, is that you might get lost in like a situation that presents love, beauty, pleasure, like a relationship. So a person that you desire, like to be in a relationship with, to have an affair with, or get together, like hook up with, or even like someone you want to marry who's like promising you the world, and like making this vision of like they're going to give you the world, or you have this idea that they're gonna like put all the pieces together for you, like that they're becoming like your bigger meaning or purpose. But the danger is they're not really that. So when this transit goes away, you're not going to feel that way anymore. You're going to feel duped and taken advantage of. So you want to be careful on Tuesday, October 26th of, like getting enticed by things. So it could be relationships. It could be like a deal where you could make money or save money in some way. It could be a legal matter. It could be a thing like someone promising marriage or promising a commitment or something. Or it could be something where you're just like trying to make something more beautiful, like decorating something. And then getting pulled into this vision or idea, but it has this darkness behind it. It's not real. So it could be something that is really just straight up a lie, like getting pulled into something that is really not true and is an illusion, and is not gonna like work out so well, and just has this like feeling of like darkness behind it in some way. All right, so the next transit coming up into Thursday, going to be a little bit more pleasant than it was on Tuesday, depending on how like that Neptune energy went. So on Thursday, October 28th, we have Venus sextile Jupiter. So the two benefics getting along in beautiful harmony. This is always nice. And that's going to happen around 2:51 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So like what happens when Venus and Jupiter get along? Some pretty nice things. They're both the benefics of the zodiacs, meaning they're life-giving. They both feel good, and so they're both like hanging out together as friends. So the sextile is of the nature of Venus. So it's an aspect between Venus and Jupiter that's going to create like beauty, love, harmony, pleasantness, and very fertile. It's a very like fertile time. So like in mythology, there's lots of stories about like both Venus and Jupiter, like lusting after, having lots of lovers, and like having a lot of children, both like being fertile. So it's like a very fertile day, fertile time, like for ideas, for romance, love, friendship, and just things like feeling nice and looking nice. And so it's going to be like this type of beauty that inspires you. And it also may be something where like money is involved or contracts in a way that like gives you hope and like helps you to feel like connected to the world in a bigger picture. And so it may be a time, like a day, where you take time to just watch the beauty of the world and just feel like so inspired by it. And just finding a higher meaning, a purpose, like a connection between like what the world like really, what things in the world really mean. So a sense of wisdom through beauty. And yeah, so taking your time, just enjoying that. With Venus, sometimes like with this transit, you can like change your wardrobe in a way where you're like, this fits me, this fits who I am. Finding like a thing of beauty with that. And it could also be like, I mean, it could be even like reflecting on things that normally you wouldn't see as beautiful, but all of a sudden have a sense of beauty and meaning to them. And with like two benefics together in a benefic aspect, this is more of an aspect that you can really trust that things are going to be okay. There isn't like that deception of like Neptune underneath. It's like the one thing about like Jupiter, and Jupiter is well dignified in Aquarius with Saturn being there. Jupiter like keeps his promises. He is also the god of morality, even though he was out, you know, doing all those dirty deeds and whatever. He was like the god of the gods. And so he is a god that represents justice. And also in the myths, you know, Jupiter matures over time. So he starts out as kind of angry, maybe running around on Hera too much. And over time, he has like more wisdom to him. So even like whatever we do that day, like for pleasure, there's going to be a lot of pleasure. There's going to be this aspect of maybe learning some wisdom from it, because Venus is in Sagittarius, Jupiter is hosting that. So there is like a partial reception, meaning that even though this is a sextile, Jupiter is going to like be in charge of Venus. So really like nice mutual relationship. And the other thing is like protecting that beauty. Like this is kind of not the best story, but Jupiter like protected Venus. So like there was a situation where she like had a conflict with Artemis, with one of her followers, Hippolytus. He was like, Venus sucks, Artemis is the best. And so Venus was like, hey, you know, you got to worship me too, or I'm gonna like do something bad to you. And he was like, no, I love Artemis, I'm loyal. And he wouldn't like, you know, he was like chaste, wouldn't get together with other women, wouldn't enjoy like beauty, sex, and like pleasure, and wouldn't get married. So she made his stepmother fall in love with him. And like, yeah, so it was his stepmother married to his dad. She fell in love with him. She ended up committing suicide, writing a note about it. And then the husband, like, you know, the father came and had Hippolytus killed. So there you go, Greek myths and tragedies for you. It wasn't all pretty. And, you know, life isn't all pretty and that. So So the other thing about this day is that's kind of like a dark story, but that's true. But oh, one of the things was Artemis didn't like go after Venus because she was under the protection of Jupiter. So we have to take careful like with this kind of thing, maybe not to take advantage of other people, like when things are going well. Not to take things too far. So this could be a very like fertile day for love, for making babies, for like pleasure, sex, food, and even you might want to spend money to make things beautiful in some way. But it's even though it's going to be a very enjoyable influence where you can really like enjoy your loved ones. Be careful, like when the two benefics are together, one of the aspects is that it can go like too far with pleasure and so can spend too much money and like enjoy things like there's no tomorrow, like there's no bill coming at the end of the day. Like when if Saturn was involved, there would be a bill, but with like Venus and Jupiter, you're like never worried about what's going to be happening and you're not thinking of the consequences necessarily of your action because you're like, well, I'm going to feel good forever. But that transit will pass. You're going to have to deal with like less pleasant, transits in the future. So just remember that you can get a little carried away with the pleasure. But not that you shouldn't enjoy it, but if you have a budget, like don't give yourself like an endless amount of money to spend. This is not, if you don't want to like have a baby or something, like, make sure to use protection because Venus and Jupiter again are very fertile signs. So things like that you want to be cautious of. But otherwise, let's really enjoy Thursday. So on Saturday, October 30th, we're going to have the Sun square Saturn. And that's going to happen around 1:18 p.m. 1:18 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we're probably going to feel that transit probably sometime. We're definitely going to feel it probably Friday through Sunday, maybe Thursday through Monday, that kind of thing. So, but we feel the transit the most like as it perfects, as the planets like come together and make an aspect. And that's where I get the time that I'm actually telling you. Okay. So with this, it's like, how would the Sun fight with Saturn? So again, we have a square with Saturn, the Sun fighting with Saturn, and the Sun and Saturn are kind of like have opposite purposes. They don't do well together. They're considered like opposites at two ends of the spectrum because the Sun is like life-giving. It's the truth. So the Sun represents things being illuminated and really seeing a clear picture of things. And so it was associated traditionally with divination because it was like giving clarity and a spotlight on things. So a lot of times, like if I read cards, like I see a spotlight like on the picture almost. And so regardless, it's like bringing the truth to light in some way. It can also represent like the actions we take in life, like our soul driving us. So going where the soul leads, seeing the future, divination. And so it could also represent like things that are eternal, but the Sun was connected to the lion and leaders, so kings. And so in modern day, that could relate to like a politician, like a political leader or a father, a spouse, a boss, and also like leaving a legacy, like someone who wants to lead a legacy in some way, and like the divine masculine or the God aspect, like of the zodiac. And so it's going to be in Scorpio. And so like the feel of Scorpio is like, Scorpio is the feminine aspect of Mars. It's ruled by Mars, which is going to be in Libra still. And it's going to be in that last anaretic degree. So, this may be an intense transit whenever we have like a planet, going into the next sign. Things can get intense. And yeah, so Mars is ruling that Sun square Saturn, and I'm going to talk about in a little bit that Mars is going to ingress into Scorpio. So it might feel like pretty intense that Saturday in some ways, like a very conflicting energy, like that needs to like come out and burst out in some way. So regardless, like the sun is going to be in Scorpio. And so like with Scorpio and the sun, like having the truth come out, like the truth for Scorpio is like this freedom to be the self and freedom to hunt, right? So to live deeply and intensely, like this freedom to roam, to live according to your own values. And then this is in conflict with Saturn. So what about Saturn? Saturn was the god who ate his babies. Like he freed Gaia from Uranus and his oppression, and then he went on to eat his own children so they wouldn't take over his rule. And so Saturn wasn't all bad. He was idealistic and he did rule the golden age. So his punishment for doing that wasn't that he was like in jail forever. Like they sent him to an island where it was basically heaven and he ruled like this like utopia like on an island. And before that, he was the ruler of the golden age. So that eating more represented like the restriction of life, the restriction of time, the harsh realities of life and having to survive and protect yourself. And so, like, the sun is all about living your truth and vitality and shedding light on things. And then Saturn is all about restriction and time, the harsh realities of life, the tough life of nature. So it's cutting off life. It's hard work because, you know, Saturn was a god of agriculture, tough love. And so Saturn is in Aquarius, where, you know, it's happy there, that's its home. What we might experience is restriction or opposition to ideas that don't go with the group, that we might think differently. And our response to that, like how we respond, do we want to restrict or do we want to like support that freedom? So polarization, opposition to speaking freely, and sometimes like choosing ideas and ideals over people and the soul, like kind of dehumanizing people in some way. So you have this vital force energy that wants to come out and live according like to our own ideals, but then we might have restrictions on that. So we might have like actual laws, punitive measures, like consequences for not following rules or restrictions, or just people cutting off like what we want to say, like censorship, you know, in some way. You know, things like that might be the opposition, but the sun is in a superior position. So what we might experience instead is just like seeing some type of truth come out, some type of negative or like dirty truth come out about someone in charge in the news, or it could be somebody much closer to us, like a spouse, a leader, or a boss, or finding some restriction, some harsh reality, some type of like imprisonment or like consequence in some way. But the more positive expression of this could be just having the discipline or just having the ability to like face restrictions in a more productive or positive way. So when there's a square and when there's Mars, you know, things, there could be like, you know, it could be like a harsher or violent aspect, like, because we're talking about the square, which is of the nature of Mars. But Mars is also productive. It gives us the motivation to get things done as well. So we might have this feel of also with the sun in Scorpio, being able to be stoic and accept our limitations, and feel okay with that, like have some aspect of ourselves where we feel like we can truly express ourselves and find peace like within our limitations in some way, or be productive with it, you know, and you know, like we can still find our truth within the restrictions as well, like find that restriction and like breathe some life into it, like breathe some life into what's happening. Later that morning, we're going to have Mars ingressing Scorpio, which will hopefully ease things up and help a little bit. So that's going to be happening around 10:20 a.m. So I'm going to go through this transit and then do the reading for the week. And so the nice thing about Mars ingressing Scorpio is that it's happier here. It's in its happy place. So it's at home. But the scorpion is related to Artemis, the goddess of the hunt. In the story, Orion was taking advantage of Artemis and tried to take her, like, in the, I say biblical way, but it's actually the Greek way. And so, like, he was trying to get it on with her, and she was like, no. And so she had a giant scorpion come up and like chase him and kill him. I think it was her scorpion. I'm pretty sure, right? I don't know if it was like sometimes another god comes by, is like, bam, there's a scorpion. So anyway, so the scorpion is associated with Artemis. Other versions of the story I've heard is that like Orion and Artemis were lovers. They were the only ones. And so, but he was trying to like harass like these other girls. And anyway, he was like hunting the scorpion killed him, and Artemis was upset. But I'm going to go with that like original story, like that I told you, which is that Orion was trying to get with, he's trying to hook up with Artemis, and she was like, no. And he's like, who cares? I'm going to take it anyway. And she was like, bam, here's a scorpion. You're dead. So with Artemis, and relating to the story of Scorpio, like what Scorpio would represent, Artemis was the goddess of the hunt. So related to Mars, she just wanted to go out and hunt animals all day and be free and just like run around in the forest, and was a wild woman. And she also had these virgins that were part of her cults. Everybody had a cult. All the gods and goddesses had a cult. And so they had to take a vow of chastity. People still think of Scorpio as like a very sexual sign, but so it was a vow of chastity. And so she protected those women. And she also was the goddess of childbirth because she actually delivered her own brother, Apollo, who was the sun. But she kind of like takes everything in like a hunter. So that's Mars, especially Mars in Scorpio. So the sun in Scorpio will take on a different aspect because the sun is about expressing your truth in some way. And Mars is about taking action. As Mars ingresses, let me tell you like some of the meanings of Mars, what it could mean, and some of the things that happen. So Mars is associated with things like action, motivation, like accidents. It could be injuries, rashes, heat, surgery, anything that's cutting. And it could be like even like death. It could be fighting. It could be hurt in some way. So Mars is not the most pleasant. It was the malefic of the sect. But again, it could be like taking action, and it could be motivation. So people who don't have strong Mars energy can find it really hard to take action and have the motivation to really get things done. And so the nice thing is that like when Mars is well dignified in its own sign, and in Scorpio, that like we will have probably more motivation to actually get things done and follow things through and take action. So a lot of times, like when it ingresses, like you might have some bumps and bruises. There is the element of accidents happening, so just take care. There could be even like skin rashes a lot. It's associated with heat, so sometimes the skin getting inflamed or getting burned or something. It is associated with things like surgeries or like cutting things in some way. So it could even be like things like working with metal and like cutting things like with a sword or a sword, or like in modern day use like a power tool that would like cut through things. Yeah, so all of those things could happen as it ingresses. So just make sure to like I wouldn't take any risky actions even before Saturday, because there is like a lot of like Mars energy that's kind of volatile, because it's going to be in like when the sun squares Saturn, Mars is going to be in that last degree of Libra, and then it's ingressing into Scorpio. So really take care. It's not like the time to do anything like physically active, like that's risky in some way. Like I would take care. Like if you have a surgery scheduled that day, I think you'll be fine, right? Because like that's very like Mars. But it's not like don't speed. Not time to like go, I don't know, do some kind of like active sport that you haven't done before and that you don't really like know like how to control it in some way. And even if you usually do it, it's like take extra caution on that day. Okay, so I'm going to pull some cards for the week and see what we got for the week. So I just want to like have a card to summarize the energy of what we're experiencing this week. So interesting. Okay, so we have the Queen of Cups energy. It seems like dealing with relationships is like a huge thing. Yeah, so difficulty in feeling grounded, feeling emotionally nurtured, feeling like we can keep and hold on to like what's sacred to us. Like there's this feeling of like perhaps like a loss this week is what I'm getting from this card. And just this need to feel nurtured in some way. And so also like the Queen of Cups is like dealing with a person. So maybe not feeling nurtured by like the women in our lives and the people, I don't know, like they could be close to us or could be like associated, but not really feeling like nurtured as much as we would like, kind of having to let go of our ideas of a person, of like a woman in our life, having to let go of them in some way, like sister, mother, boss, friend, you know, family member, but not like having some type of energy that's like blocked or some type of conflict with a woman. And, you know, again, like for a collective reading, this could be like in the media in some way. So not like maybe feeling like there's like a woman that's like in the public or in the news and feeling let down in some way, like not feeling like they're protecting you the way that they should and not feeling like they have as much compassion as like we think that they should. So I'm going to pull a card for the advice for the week. Geez, we always get these people cards like the last couple weeks. Okay, so I have the Page of Pentacles. Interesting as the advice for this week. Yeah, so it's like this energy of like be careful of trusting in new people, like new young males that come along the way. Like there is like that fertile energy coming through, but don't take any deal that comes to us without like take some time before you actually like commit to anything with like a young male person. Like don't go after the offer. So this could be like in a romantic sense or a relationship, like a proposal, like a marriage proposal type of sense. Or it could be like in a business deal, like a business negotiation, some type of contract, some type of issue with money. Like don't be so eager to take what this like young masculine or male person has to offer to you. Be more cautious. A lot of us are going to be thinking like from our desire, like there is like that Venus energy coming through a lot this week. And so we have like this desire, like this lust maybe after this person, and we're just thinking about like our desire, but we're not thinking in a super grounded way. So just like be careful of that. And I'm going to pull a card for the outcome of the week. Then I'm going to look into a little bit of like our minds, body, and spirit of the week, how we're doing and negotiating that. Wow. Wow, wow. Okay. It's all about relationships and people and like trouble with relationships and people. It's like the final outcome, this Queen of Swords, like this cutting energy of the woman. So we may come out of this week still angry and still like in conflict, like with a female figure and not feeling like the greatest about it and feeling turbulent. And so just having to be okay with that. In a way, like we're going to have to be okay with conflict this week because this is not a feel-good week where we're going to come out of it like feeling the best. So I'm going to pull a card to see how we can nurture and see what's going on like with our minds, body, and spirit for this week. Okay, so this week we might feel a little bit burdened by those desires. So like in our minds, I got this this 10 of Wands. So really feeling weighed down, lack of energy, super cranky, feeling overwhelmed by our pursuits, by our desires, like by our passions, by the things that we want, and feeling like really weighed down by that, and just feeling like really weighed down by our experiences, like the world is like falling on top of our head. So let's see what's going on with our body, because our minds, like, I think, yeah, unfortunately, we're going to feel overwhelmed this week. And it definitely looks like a big problem is like with our relationships. And I think at the end, I'll show a picture of this for you guys so you can see this reading. Body. Okay. Wow. Wow. Okay. So this is going to feel like we're really going to feel zapped of energy. We might feel more energetic. I'm feeling like when that Mars goes into Scorpio, but then we had that kind of blah energy. Like there's a lot of like reversals this week. So I'm sorry to say, I want to give good news, but like these readings really need to like reflect like the reality of life. So, again, like this is when the wands are reversed, we're really feeling like zapped of energy, like really like zapped of energy. And again, it may be because like Mars is in those last degrees of Libra, and so Mars is in detriment. It doesn't feel so active. And also when Mars is in those last degrees of Libra, it can be intense, and Mars tends to, like in Libra, tends to express its energy like in passive aggressive ways, conflicts with relationships, gossip, like misinformation, things like that, starting rumors, like because Mars is in Venus's sign, and she's like all about like talking people down and yeah, starting gossip about people, making fun of them. So that's like, so like we're gonna have a lot of that energy and difficulty in our relationships, it looks like this week for a lot of us. And you know, it really depends on you and your chart. You know, and it also depends like how we deal with it. Like it depends on us. Like some of us might be fine, like flow through this and be like, okay, we can deal with it. Some of you guys, not so much. Yeah. So really feeling this energy of like feeling weighed down like by the world and by our leaders, like and just really feeling like I don't know, like just this, like there might be even a lack of hope. But also I'm feeling like there is, yes, okay, so there is this energy of seeing like this green grass in the background and seeing balance come back to our bodies in some way. So feeling that vitality a little bit more, but for the most part this week, just feeling weighed down, not the greatest, but like our bodies are going to feel more vibrant. We're going to have more energy, I think, by the end of the week, because I see this green come out. So we're going to see the light at the end of the tunnel as far as like physical vitality and feeling more energetic. And maybe some of us are taking a break too. But yeah, with all of these like people cards like being reversed and then these wands also being reversed, it's like there's definitely like this energy of like a big fight this week, like huge fights this week, like because people are really feeling cranky, really feeling down, zapped of energy, not feeling vital. Okay, in our spirit, we have death reversed. All of our cards are reversed, so a tough week ahead of us. Yeah, so with the death card, like we have a major arcana coming out, giving us a bigger theme. And with the death card, it talks about a difficult transformation. And this is one that we don't want to face and that we don't want to deal with. Coming through, like there are major changes like coming through this week that we just don't want to face. But again, when that Mars ingresses into Scorpio, we may be able to better face it. But that Mars isn't going to ingress into Scorpio until like the very end of the week on Saturday. So that might be some relief, and that might be why by the end of the week we're probably going to feel more vital than we were. But yeah, there are like major changes coming in that are just like part of life and part of endings and things we're going to have to cut away from that we really don't want to, and we're going to be like fighting this energy in some way. Yeah, so yeah, it's going to be like a difficult week. I don't even have to like pull another card for clarification. And again, I will just do a little snapshot of these cards in a sec. Um, it's just going to be like there are things that we don't want to face this week that are coming up as far as an ending. Like something is going to be cut off and ended. And it's most likely in terms of people in our lives and relationships and things of conflict. And so, yeah, in some way, like relationships ending in some way, in a more public way. Like we might see conflicts or fighting or even like military action like comes to mind, or some type of fighting or like protest, or like, yeah, it could be protest energy in some way. You know, like something like that, some kind of like civil disruption as well. I mean, possibly where people are feeling like really fed up in some way. But on a more personal level, it would be some type of conflict in your relationships, and could be romantic relationships with partners or lovers. But it also could be with like family members, family members of yours, particularly female, but could be male. We have like both male and female energy like coming through. More so the conflict with the female energy. So other women in your life, like sisters, mothers, friends, family, bosses, people that would be nurturing in some way. And then it may surround like a male figure in some way. So, I mean, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be like an other woman situation. Like could be like, you're married to somebody, you have a fight with the mother-in-law, you're not getting along with the mother-in-law or something like that. There's many different scenarios. So see how that applies to you. So just take care this week. And make sure to step back and observe things and not be so quick to act on them, because when you act on them, you might not get what you want, and it might create it's probably more so going to create turmoil than peace this week. Okay, guys, so here's a snapshot of the cards if anybody wanted to see what's going on. So yeah, I can't just smooth this one over this week. Looks like it's going to be a difficult week, but my love is with you. I know everything is going to be okay, so hang in there. This is all going to work out for the best. And yeah, I am a Sagittarius sun, rising Mercury, so even though I have the Jupiter in Scorpio, I'm optimistic no matter what. We're going to fight this. We're not, I don't know if I should say that. But we're going to come out of it on the other side, and we're going to understand at some point why this happened, and how it helped us in terms of the bigger picture, and just having a spirit of we don't really know exactly why things are happening. We don't have that bigger picture necessarily. We are not, one of the gods or goddesses viewing down on earth. We're in it. So we have the perspective of being so close to things that we don't understand necessarily from the bigger picture, how this really plays out in some divine way or divine purpose. So keep that in mind, that at some point you'll look back at this and understand why everything did have to work out this way or happen this way, and that it was for a greater or bigger purpose. All right, so that's all I have for you guys. Love you guys so much. Take care this week. And this is just a reminder that if you liked this weekly reading, make sure to subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified for whenever I release a video. Please make sure to share it out if it helped you. Also, if you're interested in learning tarot cards, I'm going through the Minor Arcana right now, through the Suit of Swords. So make sure to check those out. All right, guys, take care. I love you. Bye. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified for whenever I release a new video every single week.